Hello, Modern Jeepers. Mattson from Motorcloak here, and welcome to episode 170 of the Modern Jeeper Show, the show about Jeeps and Jeeping and Jeep. Corey and Jessy are back at the ModernJeeper Compound with Jessy's brand new toy, and boy, is she excited. We start the show with some break your rumors about Polaris and Transamerica, and boy, this is hot stuff. Then we are joined by ModernJeeper, Ultra4 Racer, and all-around great guy, John Allen, the current chair of the 55th Annual Sierra Trek. If you're not familiar with Sierra Trek or the Fordyce Trail, you are not going to want to miss this episode. Beware, you might just modify your bucket list. By the way, if you like this episode, please share it with your friends and give it as a review on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. As always, we're extremely grateful to our supporters and friends, including Warren Winches, Raceline Wheels, Bestop, Milestar Tires, Rugged Radios, Adventure Rack Systems, and of course, Metal Cloak. So sit back, relax the cold one, and enjoy episode number 170 of the Modern Jeeper Show.
The ModernJeeper Show, the show about Jeeps, Jeeping, and Jeepers.
Well, hey, Modern Jeepers, this is another episode of the Modern Jeeper Show with me, Mattson from Metal Cloak, and Mr. Modern Jeeper, Corey Osborne.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, Rockstar Jeep Girl, Jessy.
Hey.
You have a big smile on your face.
I do.
And why
I'm
is
excited.
that? You tell.
I got a big, bright, yellow, brand new Jeep. It has 34 miles on it now, sitting in my driveway.
Now, how bright is this? You guys were talking about, like, really, like how...
It is definitely lighter yellow, no joke.
Yeah.
So does it have like more of a green tint to it?
Yes,
like,
there's
it
an
does.
undertone of green.
It does, huh?
Yes.
So it's a
It's
yellow
funny.
towards a green, not the red. Yeah.
Well, it's weird parking it next to her JK, and then I even went. I had a one of the fenders off of the LJ sitting on the side of the garage, and I brought it around. And to me, and of course that was solar yellow in 04 is what that fender came off of. I put it next to her Jeep, and to me it's really close. And she says no, it's not.
Orangey. It's too orangey.
But next to her JK, it does look greener, I guess. It's really bright. When the sun goes down, I'm worried that we're not going to need like a light outside.
Just don't have any lights reflecting off of it.
Yes.
Yeah, because the yellow spectrum goes to the green or to the orange, right? And I
Yep.
prefer the yellow towards the orange. I love yellow, but I love towards the orange because orange is my favorite color, right? But yeah, you get that toward that green side, and you start getting that's interesting. And the photos just really don't do it justice. So I can't wait to see it in person.
No, and everybody says, oh, it's green, it's green, and to me, in the pictures, it looks definitely greener. But to see it in person and see it in the sun, it's yellow. I mean, it is yellow. Jeep, it's called high velocity yellow.
Now wait a second. Wait. To you? I thought you were colorblind.
To me,
How do you,
that's why I say to me.
To you, to you, from what you understand is green.
Right.
How colorblind
From what I've
are
been
you?
told.
How colorblind are you? I mean, what colors can you see and you can't see?
So as I recall, what they told me when I was little was that I'm 95% red green color deficient.
Okay.
Which is like if you put a rose bush with red roses on it in green bushes, there ain't no flower there at all. I can't see the red rose.
Oh, you can't see the flower at all. Like it actually blacks it out. It's not just gray or something.
No, it's all the same.
Oh, okay. I see.
So like if you were to, like those little dot tests they used to do where there'd be a whole bunch of dots and like all the dots are white and then there's a big black number in the middle. Like yeah, that I get. But if they're red and green or shades of blue or it's funny, blue and purple is very similar colors to me.
Yeah.
So
I have to correct him all the time.
Yeah.
Like, did you see that blue thing? And I'm like, blue?
That's why I wear gray and black all the time.
Well, and so how does yellow come across for you?
Green. For him, it does.
Well, I'm just curious
because anytime
yellow
there's anytime there's a gecko green, like one of those creamy colors coming towards us, he's like, "Oh, that's yellow." I'm like,
yeah, like a gecko green Jeep will look a little yellow, but everything goes to yellow, and that's why all of my Jeeps have been yellow because I can see the yellow, the brightness of it. But to me, it's just very bright.
Well, and that's what I was wondering because like yellow is one of your colors. So
yeah,
it's like, what is it about this color yellow that you like that has made it like your color, right? Like that you really that has attracted you to it.
Yeah, I don't know. That's very interesting.
Okay, so like because yellow is your favorite color,
Yep.
and how do you just how I'm just curious how that attracted you, like a color you don't even know that's the right color.
I mean, I think it's just because of it's bright. Really, I don't think that um, when I remember when we first bought Spike in 2002, that Jeep was one of the very few available, and it wasn't that I even liked yellow as my favorite color then. It was just really bright, and it was one of the few TJs that they had sitting on the lot. And I remember having a conversation a couple years later. Well, it was quite a few years later after that, with Rick Payway, who, he kind of did the whole bright colors photograph better. So for magazines, advertising, all of that kind of stuff, he was like, yeah, we like the brighter colors just because they photograph better. And I don't know, there's just something about it in the back of my mind. I mean, if I look across here, I've got like 4 duffel bags that are yellow. I don't know. Maybe it's just easier for me to find things. I don't know.
So.
That's what it is. You feel better because you can see it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So breaking news. I think we should talk about this real quick before we get to our guest. But
You bet.
It's kind of interesting. We hear a lot of stuff, insider knowledge, and we've always said that industry insight, we're looking at different things and trying to, but most of the time we can't share it because it's friends that have shared information with us. Right. But when there is a rumor, and that rumor has nothing to do with any friends and nothing to do with it's okay for us to talk about these rumors.
That's right.
At Easter Jeep Safari, we had learned that there was a rumor that Polaris wanted to dump Transamerica. Actually, all I heard was Polaris wanted to dump 4-wheel parts. And I didn't know if it was the full trans. I didn't know if it was going to be all the brands or what it was. All we knew was that Polaris was looking to dump it. And then there was some discussions and back and forth. Well, today, the rumor is, as of the last 24 hours, that Wheel Pros, the company who, if you guys might all remember, recently bought TerraFlex.
We just talked about Clear Lake and buying TerraFlex. And so this is that same company.
It's that same company has now bought, or is now in negotiation and supposed to be finishing. Official people have not commented on it. Transamerica, which means they're buying all the 4-wheel parts stores, which is about 100 stores. They're buying the Transamerica distribution network. They're buying Rubicon Express,
all
Poison Spider, G2 Axles. I think they have Tough Country over there, and then they have what's our main in-house brand?
Isn't it
I just went blank on it.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Wheels?
No, the 4-wheel parts brands of their Smittybilt.
Yes.
Smith. I didn't even think it's Smittybilt. They bought Smittybilt, and then they have another. There's another in-house suspension brand. That is over there. But the reality is, so think about this. One, they're going to own. They already own something like, and I think if you look at 4-wheel parts at the Wheel Pros themselves,
is it
they've got
it's Procomp.
Procomp is what I was thinking of. American Force, American Racing, Asante, Black Rhino, Dub, Foos.
Yeah, Wheel Pros is enormous.
Yeah, I mean, just some of the brands that they own as the Wheel Force, not to mention all the other brands that they're now picking up. Then you go to Clear Lake, and we were looking at this earlier. A lot of brands I have no idea about, like Ashley Stirrup, Bamboo Health, Compudyne. They have Constant Contact, which is the big email system I used to use that I was paying $400 some odd a month for, that I now don't use because I use SendFox. So, I had 80,000 emails. I had 80,000 emails in our system over Constant Contact and paying $400 a month for that purpose. I now use SendFox, which you get through AppSumo, lifetime deal for $49 and never pay another penny, except for when I add more thousands of emails into it. And so it's like, why do that? Discovery Education, Jacuzzi brand, they're huge. This is a massive company.
I mean, if you think about this, and at one time, I remember when Polaris was acquiring this. Polaris is an enormously large company as well, like one of the largest employers on the planet. So now you have a company buying out Trans, which is just as, I mean, it's huge. This company becomes just this massive conglomerate.
Yeah, I mean, Wheel Pros. Why am I having a hard time saying? I think that was a drink or something. Wheel Pros is going to have it's going to have a massive, massive influence on this industry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of have a problem with that.
Yeah, like we were talking earlier.
Big monopoly.
Yep.
I have a problem with one company owning 5 major suspension companies, right?
Yeah.
One company owning that much in this industry, and this industry isn't that big. That's what the craziness of it, right? This is still a niche market.
Yep.
Now they'll probably do what they do, which I'm presuming they're going to put money infusion into it and expand out. But then,
sure,
if you're Terraflex and you're owned by Wheel, and all of a sudden Rubicon Express brand is in there, how do you feel if you're Terraflex? Like now you have Rubicon Express. It's kind of like how ProComp felt, because they were the brand. Rubicon Express came in and ProComp went like this. Rubicon Express went like that, right?
Right.
And now you're, at least that's why I think ProComp was excited that they bought Tough Country. I think it was Tough Country. Is it Tough Country or is it not? Or is it
Rough Country? Not
Rough Country. It was one of the other T's that was part of the performance group.
I think it's Tough Country.
Was it Tough Country? Maybe it might have been Tough Country, but
I don't know.
Yeah, but they bought. I'm looking it up now so we can just make sure we don't sound like idiots, right? And so here it is, tap brands. So let's see who all the tap brands are.
There's a lot of tap brands.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of tap brands. I mean, you figure you got 4 Parts, 4WD, G2, Dealer Services International, Performance for Trucks, ProComp, Rubicon, Smitty Built. It doesn't even say there. I know that they had another. Not seeing it.
It was probably a brand underneath somebody else.
So it was under Performance Brands.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not seeing it, but that doesn't matter. The somebody else will correct us in our community.
Yeah, somebody will probably know.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. So but that's the whole idea that this company now owns. I kind of have a problem about that. And it's not so much, and I'm not saying it from the standpoint of, well, there's competition, because competition is good and we love competition. Everybody knows that Metal Cloak doesn't back off from competition. But from the standpoint of consumer, this is the kind of thing that is probably going to go under the radar because nobody really cares. It's not nobody's out there going, what's happening in the off-road market? But you almost kind of want to say, hey, maybe we should do a little campaign out there to say, they should break up some of that. They shouldn't have that much power.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying, the grassroots campaign. It's a few letters to congressmen. You can't send any checks to congressmen, but you can send a few letters. So I don't know.
Yeah. Do all these brands now compete with one another for market share, and how does that work? And it's going to be interesting. Of course, we spent 3 hours today at our local Jeep dealership and talking about supply chain issues and how even their markets have changed, and how a dealership gets Jeeps, and how some of the larger dealerships move Jeeps. They end up with Jeeps because they're allocated Jeeps. And, in a smaller town like where we live, things have changed in the last 2 years since COVID. And when even the companies that they deal with, the tour companies around here, where they were dealing with 6 and 7 Jeeps a year, new inventory, would go to these adventure companies, if you will. They'd lease them for a year, and then they got that inventory back in. Well, now these tour companies are able to buy at a fairly good markdown price. And then they ended up selling them outright because they were making more money than selling them back to the dealerships. Now the dealerships are struggling for those vehicles, which everybody has seen all across the country. Mm-hmm. I mean, this kind of creates that whole, just like what Bronco's trying to do. They want a piece of the market share of what Jeep's got. So all of these brands now having to compete with each other, and yet everybody kind of is given this, hey, we have deep pockets, go all in for your new development and new products. Well, if you tell 7 or 5 suspension companies to do better, and everybody has an open checkbook, like I don't know what that creates, a really weird dynamic.
It does. And you figure for a company that has that many wheel brands, they must know how to do that because you have former competitors now all under the same umbrella. But competition is good. So maybe there's incentives within their own groups to say, all right, you're a brand, but you have to compete, right? You don't want to don't get lax, but it'd be interesting to see. So yeah, so that's the breaking news, guys. Polaris, for whatever reason, and I'd be curious to be a fly on the wall and just know what was it that Polaris was bothered by, because they're a massive company, lots of employees. It wasn't like this was a drain on them, but maybe as a concept, it was just too small. And I expected when Polaris bought it, I thought they were buying it for the distribution network.
That's what everybody thought.
Yeah, my premise was they don't care about the brands. In fact, I figured they'd sell off the brands,
right? And
they would just want the distribution network. They wanted all the stores. Now, if you're a distributor and a dealer who has razors and Polaris razors out there, you imagine that maybe they were a little pissy about the idea that there's a bunch of 4-wheel parts stores where you can go buy a razor. So that never happened. And you never really saw that stuff appear. Like obviously you didn't see these stores start to sell a bunch of razor stuff. It didn't seem to me. But yet they're turning around and saying, yeah, that was a fun experiment. We're done.
Right. We're out. Yeah. We're going to take our money and we're going to go over here in the corner and make more razors.
Yeah. Yeah. They did do some expansions. There was a massive, did I say massive? Warehouse facility in Fernley, Nevada. So, which is, out there in the middle of no place, but it's huge distribution. So I think they must have done a lot of improvements to the overall system. But if you work at a 4-wheel parts, the guys we know that still work there, like it hasn't been fun under the rule of Polaris. Yeah. And you remember they went in and like decimated all the leadership at all the brands. They decimated the leadership from everywhere from Smittybilt to Rubicon Express, everywhere. They just went in and got rid of everybody. And then they kind of neglected it.
Another day in the off-road industry.
Let's talk about more fun stuff, because you guys just got back. We'll talk about this in a second, but we also have our guests with us. But you guys just got back from doing Jeeperama. We want to talk about that because it kind of goes with our guest here, who we'll bring up here in a second. But I got to remember to unmute him, for all of our listeners out there. I got to do this manual operation, and sometimes I don't. But John Allen, hey, buddy.
How you doing?
Good. So, guys, John Allen is the chair of Sierra Trek. Now, if you're not familiar with Sierra Trek, we'll talk about it. But Sierra Trek is a local event out here. It's been going for umpteenth number of years. In fact, you're the chair for the 55th and 56th Sierra Trek. Is that so? You were chair last year, and this year which one's this year?
This year's 55, and next year will be 56.
Okay. 55 years, one of the oldest events out there, right? I mean, you think about some of these events up and down California. How many years has TDS been going now? Like they have their 60th coming, I think.
Up there.
Yeah. 70th for Jeepers Jamboree, 55th for Sierra Trek. I mean, that's pretty incredible history of events. And so we wanted John to come on because we wanted to talk about Sierra Trek. A lot of times we talk about events across the area, but Sierra Trek's kind of near and dear to us because it's about Fordyce, the trails out here. And it's one of the most beautiful events I've gone to because it's so quiet and serene and peaceful up there by the lake. So John, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
So tell us a little bit about your history and how you ended up in Sierra Trek.
So I consider myself a second generation Jeep guy. My parents were in the Jeepers Jamboree and whatnot in their flat fender back in the later 60s. I was in the Rubicon in their CJ5 in the 70s and early 80s, or in the late 70s and early 80s. As a small child. We, as a family, we've always owned Jeeps. As I approached high school, went back to the Rubicon and fell in love with it, bought a Jeep. And I was 17. I joined Cal. I went to the Rubicon and I went to Sierra Trek in 91. So I think it was their 25th annual Sierra Trek. And I went to that event and I was absolutely blown away at Sierra Trek, the event, the beauty, the Fordyce Trail. It was the first time I was on Fordyce. The people, the food, the dancing. Everybody was really nice, helpful. I was just just a crazy kid, and I ended up going every year basically since then. Kind of a funny story. I took my wife there as a first date. I proposed to her a couple of years later at Sierra Trek, at Winch Hill 1, going up Winch Hill 1 at Sierra Trek. So
wait. Why? Wait. You're proposing to her as you're going up Winch Hill 1.
Yes.
Now, Winch Hill 1, for everybody we'll talk about this, but this is Winch Hill 1 on Fordyce. Fordyce is probably one of the greatest trails out here. It is one of the most difficult trails in the area. And it is a true trail. Like the Rubicon is a county road. Fordyce is a true trail. Winch Hill 1 can be either super gnarly, depending on the year, or relatively easy. But and relatively, I say relatively because there's 5 Winch Hills. And
Yes.
it could just be the easier one that you could actually make it up at that year, or it could be. So was this a gnarly year or an easy year?
I don't think it's ever been an easy year, but
relatively speaking.
Yeah, I kind of had to stop at a certain point, let her get over her shock, so I could focus on the spot ahead. About up when I proposed to her. So
you're you're
So
halfway up the rock. There's a bit of a rock. Well, there's a big rock hill you're going up. Big massive boulder over to the right. Big rock wall, and you got to go up over that, and then you got to start going up the Winch Hill. So at what point did you? Tell us how this happened? How did you stop and propose to her in the middle of that?
I had the ring locked in my glove compartment in my Jeep CJ, and I told her I brought an extra rock on the trail, and I handed her a key to the glove compartment. She opened it up, and there was a ring in there, and she says, "Are you proposing to me?" And I said, "Yes." And I'm still going up Winch Hill 1.
That's awesome.
I never stopped, and I put the clutch in my Jeep and stopped for just an instant. She kind of, is trying to reach, get to me. Of course, we're strapped in. And the funny part is my mom and dad are behind me in a CJ. And my dad looked over at my mom and said, "What's going on up there?" And my mom just made the comment of, "I think we're gaining a daughter-in-law." And my dad said, "Okay, well, let's move on. We got to get up this hill. There's people behind us."
Priorities.
Okay, nice to know. Let's go.
So, and I'm still, and you were, again, you're doing, what year was this?
This would have been in 2001.
2001, and you're going up in a Winch Hill 1 in a CJ. Okay, now
Yes.
let's understand. Winch Hill 1 is not comfortable, whatever you're doing, but you're doing it in a CJ. It's not like all us guys out there in our JKs, we're all built up rigs and stuff. It's in a CJ, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
And he's decides to propose to his wife. Now, had you planned this whole thing? Like you were going to propose on Winch Hill 1, or is it just like when you thought the moment was right?
Kind of thought the moment was right. Yeah, I just kind of decided, well, now it's the time. We'll do it. Give her an opportunity.
Best stressful situation.
Kind of did it fly, I guess you would say. So.
And Renee's been with you ever since.
Ever. So, Fordyce just has a very deep meaning, in general to us, as both a couple and for me, since I've been going to it for so long. It's just a beautiful, beautiful trail and an awesome event. So.
That's great. Wow, what a story. So you do Fordyce and you've been doing that event. How many years have you been doing Sierra Trek, you said?
This is 30 years for me.
31 years. 31. Wow.
That's cool.
And when did you first start getting involved with actual, were you always volunteering, or would you just kind of started lately, or?
Well, I've always volunteered. I've done other events, smaller events. I've done a lot of stuff with early on with FOTR, and then that kind of turned into RTF. I had done volunteer work there, and then I started volunteering for Sierra Trek in about 2011, 12. I started doing more volunteer work with my club, and started working my way, I guess you would say, up through the ranks from there.
And what's your club?
The Mad Hatters out of California.
Yeah, Mad Hatters are a great reputation around here. Good group.
I've been the president of that club for 8 years. I've done a lot of Adopt Trail work on Fordyce. I've led a lot of work parties. I've been to a lot of work parties and led some. So I'm very active in the Fordyce community. So
that's, again, an amazing trail. And Scott, I think it's one that is, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like it's not one that has the national attention that Rubicon does. Do people come from across the country to try Fordyce?
You know, they not like the Rubicon, but a lot of people will reach out. I know since I've been in the co-chair position, I've had a lot of people reach out to me via email and ask about, you know, hey, we're coming from X, Y, and Z state, and we're going to do the Rubicon. You know, can we do Fordyce? And, you know, and of course we have to talk about the water crossings, Rattlesnake Road, you know, the dams and certain things like that. So there is a lot of people that do, you know, that do cross over and come out. This year with Jeepers Jam being a little bit later, there's been several people reach out to me and say, hey, I'm going to do Jamboree and I want to come over and do Sierra Trek and run the Fordyce Trail.
That'd be awesome. I'm looking at the list because I was just curious. For whatever reason, Fordyce is not a badge of honor trail.
No,
that's crazy.
I've never been on it yet, so.
Yeah. That's why it's not. But it would be awesome. I mean, Fordyce should be a badge of honor trail.
It should.
It should.
You know, but it's again, it's not easy though. It's not one you want to go in there do by yourself. And you have to check. You talk about water crossings because the water comes through there. Who owns that water that's going through there? Is that PG&E?
Yeah, that PG&E owns the dam there at Fordyce Lake. So they own the dam. I've been to several meetings with PG&E over the years about Fordyce Trail in general. So yeah, they have total 100% control of the water flow. So that changes when you can and can't run Fordyce.
Yeah, and you have to check. Is it Friends of Fordyce? Is that the website that monitors that, or we can get the information if you're going out?
So Friends of Fordyce monitors it, and then Dream Flows has that.
Dream Flows? What's Dream Flows?
Dream Flows is I believe it's a river rafting website.
Oh,
and they have the flows on it, and Friends of Fordyce does as well.
Yeah, because as I recall, the water crossings they're not like what I think of. A lot of Jeepers, especially in the West, we think of water crossings. It's, you know, a foot or two of water. Fordyce has some crossings that you will not make it to the other side of the trail.
It's right.
Yes.
Float off.
Yeah.
Water crossings there are no joke, depending on the time of the year, when you cross, what the power needs for Northern California on. There's several things that change, you know, the flow of the water. So.
Yeah, the first time, I've probably been on Fordyce the most during Winter Fun Fest, and we always go out there with Scott Arnst is the one who manages the trail run for Winter Fun Fest up Fordyce, and the most we ever get is like over to across the first water crossing, and that's like on a good year where there's plenty of traction and you can get around. On the bad years, you get stopped at Driveline and Hill, which is you get stopped there and it's nothing but snow and stuck and people trying to get up and down that. But it's still beautiful. And I'll tell this story, and I've told the story in this podcast before. The one time I did try to do the full Fordyce, the first time ever, we call it the 24 hours of Fordyce. And we started out at 6:30 a.m. and I walked in my door at 6:30 a.m. the next day. And there was all kinds of hazards in between that occurred, mainly with other people's rigs. And that time I was driving the old YJ, but it was quite a cluster. It had to do with there were rock zombies involved and all kinds of fun stuff. But for it, if you can do it, if you can put it on your bucket list, it is a great trail to do. And the best time to do it is during Sierra Trek, because you have guys at every one of the wind chills. And Metal Cloak comes out and sponsors everything we can. We sponsor the wind chills. We sponsor the fire pit. We sponsor the bar. We love the event. So, but when you have somebody at every wind chill and you have them all there prepared to help you up, it is an incredible, great time to do it.
Yeah, I highly suggest doing it. We do, you know, I guess you'd say use the word groom the trail. We do that.
You groomers.
Yeah, well, the holes that get dug by some of the bigger rigs. We work closely with the Forest Service on the trail, and they want a JK 2-door on 35s to be able to go through there with a winch, with lockers, front and rear, with a struggle. That's their goal. Tire size, that's a whole other debate, but we do bring people through there like that all the time without damage at Sierra Trek. I don't know that I would suggest doing that on your own, my personal opinion. But we do have people at every winch hill. Have it like the area that we call winch hill 3.5. We man that area. That's a real rough spot on the Fordyce Creek. We have a drag crew that comes along that will with any breakdowns, and we have an emergency escape route through Rattlesnake Road, and we can take you out an emergency bypass if we had to, or we'll get you into camp one way or the other. We get a welding permit in case we have to do some trail welding and so on. So we get you in and we get you out. We have great trail communication and so on. And we try to get everybody into camp, to eat our amazing food from Fordyce. And then we also have at the same time, we have runs that instead of running the entire Fordyce Trail, we'll do from staging from camp. We'll go down winch hills 5, 4, 3 to the water crossing there at Committee. They'll have a little break. They'll turn around and they'll go up 3, 4, 5. So they'll do those. That's an option as well on both Friday and Saturday. We have a river run there. Actually, Thursday, Friday, Saturday we have.
It's one thing going up all those winch hills. I don't like going down winch hills. I'm sorry.
Something about that lack of control going down.
Yeah.
It's not that bad, but no, I get it. Sierra event, we have, an SUV run that in more of a historical run. We have a UTV run, and then we have the Outer Limits run, which is an easier trail for that intermediate off-roader that might not, that Fordyce might be too much for them. Maybe they're a beginner. Maybe they don't have, lockers front and rear. We can take you over to Outer Limits and unless you run that trail on Saturday, and you can experience some medium rock crawling over there with bypasses to kind of get. We have a little bit for everybody.
Well, that's totally cool, and it is a lot of stuff, and it's a great family fun event. The property there has a big lake. What's the name of that lake? What's the name of the property?
So the property is owned by a family by the name of Glee, and we lease that space from them. We have a permanent dance floor there. The lake is called Meadow Lake, and it's absolutely beautiful. We just released a YouTube video. You can see a lot of the lake there. It's absolutely beautiful. And then we set up a little town there. We have, like you just said, you sponsor the fire pit and the winch hills, and we have a bar. We have a snack bar. We have a little vendor show with different vendors that come out. We have a very large raffle, and we set up an awesome kitchen, and we feed you an awesome breakfast and dinner, depending on which package you purchase, how many days you're going to be there. And we even have a club that has a trailer that comes up and brings showers to us. We have our own well that Cal 4 drilled years ago, so we have our own water source there. And then we have the dance floor, and we bring in a live band, and people, after the rigs are parked and everything's secured, they can have their favorite adult beverage and dance the night away to a live band. So, yeah,
and when he sees good food, it is good food. I mean, it's it's probably one of the reasons why I haven't been there in a while, because I always felt bad. I wasn't eating. I wanted more. I wanted seconds. I wanted thirds. I had to try to become friends with the guys. I think one year, Ed Gold and his club, they're out there and they were doing the kitchen. That was my favorite time I was there, because I was able to stand behind there and say, "Hey, Ed, give me more food. Hey, Ed, throw me another." Then I felt okay. Otherwise, it's like, I want more food. I want more food. And the snack bar is cool too. Like the little snack bar. So all day there's stuff. They had nachos. I think I remember having nachos at the snack bar, hot dogs.
They have hot dogs, hamburgers, nachos, a variety of cold drinks, non-alcoholic drinks. And then right next door to that is the bar. Right. And set up a little bank there so you can exchange your real money for Trek money, so you can access the bar and whatnot, and the snack bar. T-shirt sales, and then we put on Saturday we would put on a car show and the vendor show. Yeah, and you also have of course a big raffle too. Yeah, we have a big raffle on Saturday night, and that's a pretty big raffle every year. I've been involved with the raffle many times, helping that out. Live auction, silent auction, and raffle. And what was it? Raffle. How much is raised then for Sierra Trek? We have been breaking $18,000 to $20,000, generally speaking. So nice. Now how much is donated? What's the value of the donations? 100%. We donate all of it back. Most of the stuff is donated, and the money goes straight into the Sierra Trek, account that goes. Of course, is the big money maker for Cal4, which is a nonprofit, and that money, in terms, goes back into the trails and keeping trails open and so on. So the history of Sierra Trek, and the first time with the Sierra Trek, it was down in Cisco Grove years ago, and because they had been up at Meadow Lake, and then they went down and did Cisco Grove for a few years. Yeah. But it's like this is Corey. This is what we were talking about. Here's an event, and I think California, it may just be a California thing because there's a lot of Cal4 wheels been involved and stuff. But I feel like sometimes, and John can kind of attest to this, that in California there's a lot of pushback about change. And you were talking about this with the Jeeperama. I'm sure that occurred there too. Like there was pushback on change. And the challenge is like, here's an event, Sierra Trek. I mean, think about what he just described, what it has, the snack bar, the band, also all these elements, these great trails. And yet it is not as big as it could be. Like, I still think there's so much more. Sierra Trek could double or triple its attendance and be back to being a huge event. And it should be. But I think a lot of times, whether it's John or my friend Amy or these others who have been chairs of this event, have sometimes experienced pushback on making change and to push forward and to create a better event. And yet this is an incredible event. And I hate to say it, John, but being a chairman of an event is a thankless job. It takes a lot to do. I knew it was a big job taking it on. I co-chaired for 2 years, so I had a good idea of what I was, biting off. And it was even more than what I thought. It really has taken over my life. And in a positive way, I have no regrets, but it is a huge event. I feel like I drive to Sacramento 3 days a week because I'm visiting, different off-road clubs and different things like that, looking for volunteers, looking for people to, help out and do. And, you can email, you can call, and you can talk. But I tell you what I have found that works is go sit down, order a pizza with an off-road club or group, and a little personal communication goes a long way. And and I've been doing that since almost March. So it's a huge. Yeah. Well, God bless you for doing it. But so now Corey and Jessy, they were just at Jeeperama. We didn't really get a chance to talk about that in the intro. And you kind of tell us a little bit about Jeeperama and kind of the experience what you had there and what changes they'd gone through.
Well, I mean, I at this point I have so many thoughts, John, because of your involvement and Mattson and I and Jessy, we've been talking about the maybe some of the dysfunction that takes place in so many clubs across the country. And I think it's really important. And one of my first thoughts was, the more successful clubs, these clubs that have been around for a long time, it's almost like they need an event like a Sierra Trek or like a Rubicon Springs, and we're lucky we have those things out in the West.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that a club to, I don't know, maintain its integrity and to do a good job, to have these big events, it's kind of what it takes to keep those clubs a tight-knit group. I don't think that, I think some of these clubs that they don't really have an event, they try to put some meet and greets together, or they go out on a trail ride every once in a while, nothing very large. I think that causes some separation within a club. So that said, going out into the middle of Kansas, Paola, Kansas. I didn't even know where Paola, Kansas was. We do know that it's right near Fort Scott, which Jesse and I have been to Kansas Rocks a number of times. I wasn't sure what to think of this event. We took the CTI trailer out there, and a shout out to Chris Canary and Mike Starkabaum in Topeka at 4x4 Land. This is the second year for that event. And this event is at a drive-in movie theater in the middle of not a lot. There's just nothing there. We stayed 30 miles. It was the nearest regular, chain hotel to this place. But we set up the trailer. 200 Jeeps show up to this drive-in theater in the middle of the afternoon, and it's 90 degrees and it's super humid. And the people that were attending, I mean, again, I'm gonna give a shout out to Midwest Crawlers Club, Jason Phelps. They're gonna end up changing my whole perspective on all of the negative things I typically say about most Jeep clubs, because we're so blessed by these guys that are engaged in improving an event, improving their club, doing things for the good of the Jeep community. And I think that's so very rare. We come across so many clubs that are all about, making sure that, I don't know, they
have thousands of followers.
They want a bunch of followers. They want a bunch of social media, but they don't necessarily raise money for the good of the community. Mm-hmm. They don't do a lot of external events. I get it. It's sharing of information. That's why we all join a Jeep club. But these guys, like you, John, and your club and how it's evolved, some of these clubs go through some real bad, dysfunctional leadership. And in order for them to realize it, recognize it, make those changes, come out the other side, and realize that they need to do better. Jason at Midwest Crawlers, I was blown away. I mean, he sent me some of their educational, basically their outline of what they plan to do with events and how to do better to their own members, for their own members. It was awesome. I mean, we ended up doing almost 40 rigs on the CTI trailer at a drive-in movie theater. It was crazy. But I think it really takes engaged people. And like you said, John, trying to find people that are engaged and wanting to help. It's a thankless job. And to stand up and spend the time and invest the time and know you may not get a whole lot back out of it, it shows that it's a real passionate thing for you. And thank goodness there's others out there that are doing the same thing for the good of the community and are passionate about volunteering their time and are okay with it.
Volunteers always amaze me. Absolutely amaze me. I mean, just every event. I mean, look at how many people volunteers for Jeepers Jamboree, and that's a for-profit event. But It's the volunteers that make it happen. How many volunteers do you have, John? When you do that event, how many do you need?
I honestly can't an exact number. I have dozens and dozens of volunteers. We have individual volunteers, and then we have a lot of clubs. A lot of what we try to do is get a club to host, certain things like, Santa Cruz 4-wheel drive club is doing Windshield 4 as an example. Friends of Fordyce is doing the Windshield 3. More Crowd Crawlers is doing 1 and 2. Grass Valley is doing Windshield 5. Some clubs pull, double. I have and I could sit here and name a lot of the clubs that do work, and it is a thankless job, and I thank each and every one of them. And before it's over, even some of the clubs that I've kind of neglected because I knew they were going to be there, and I focused my time on getting more volunteers. I've made a commitment that even after Sierra Trek's over, I'm going to personally go to their meeting and thank as long as I can physically get there. There's some of the clubs that are a little far away from me, but I'm going to do my absolute best to get there and and shake their hands and thank them, because it is and even on their end, when they're running the snack bar, when they're running the kitchen and whatnot, it's still a thankless job. They're up early, cooking for a bunch of hungry off-roaders and whatnot. And I probably have close to 200 volunteers to pull this off.
Wow.
With you, Mike.
And I know, and I bet, and I'm sure there are definitely attendees to events that are thankful of being there, and they treat everybody nicely. But you also know there's probably people that go there and they just go and they pay their fee, and they're doing their event and they're going through the motions and never once stop to say thank you to the volunteers. Right. And I've always encouraged people, like, especially when we do our own skills day, it's like part of my speech is, guys, give these volunteers a thanks. We wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be able to do skills day if it wasn't for the volunteers that are there. And I've got, 24 volunteers. You've got 200 volunteers out there making it work. That's incredible.
Yeah. And I try to explain to people the reason these events are important is the money, the proceeds does go back in the trail, a little, Cal 4, Rubicon Trail Foundation, those kind of places, they have the rock trailers and tooling and things that we can use to fix the trails. The president of Friends of Fordyce happens to be my Ultra4 partner and my best friend, and him and I, we found some work that really needed to be done to Fordyce. We had to haul a lot of rock in there. This was in 2020, and RTF loaned me a couple of their trailers. Cal 4 gave me a couple of their rock trailers. We towed them in with Jeeps, trucks, Toyotas, everything. And I had 100 volunteers come in for a 2-day event and haul rock in.
Wow.
And everybody just, did a lot of work. We had the vice president of the Cal 4 wheel there. We had the president of Friends of Fordyce there, and we were working 3 different sections. And that's what really makes a huge difference just overall in the trails. And that costs money, and that costs somebody's time. And
Right.
If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't have these trails. I guarantee you that. And when you do meet those people, I can tell you, you're meeting some of the finest people you'll ever sit down and break bread with. So I love them all.
Amen. So, Sierra Trek, what day is it? What's the dates this year?
It's the 11th through the 14th
of.
So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday of August.
August.
Okay. Always the second full weekend of August.
Always second weekend of August. Okay. So, and which always pops up. I mean, guys, it's like middle of June, and all of a sudden it's going to be Sierra Trek.
Yes.
And Sierra Trek always like pops up like, oh, what are we doing this weekend? Oh, we got to go out to Sierra Trek. And it's that, again, it's funny because, we talk all the time, Corey, about how I'm sitting here at my desk doing nothing, and you guys are out going cross country. Sierra Trek's my own backyard, and sometimes I don't make it. I mean, it's sad. It is sad. I'm like, how much of a modern Jeeper am I? I'm like, I'm a modern sleeper, not a modern Jeeper. I'm gonna lose my moniker.
You've got other seats in that Gladiator. Strap them in and head out.
That's it. Take them out.
And they scream in the back seat.
Okay. I got to know. Have any Gladiators made it out the windchills? How does a Gladiator do going up? Windchills? I
haven't seen one personally yet.
that fat ass of it just doesn't work too well.
That overhang in the rear is going to be an interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I've been working with the forestry the last couple of years very closely. They're great. They're actually the guy who runs that, Mr. Chavez. He's great to work with on the Fordyce side of things, and we have done some work on the bypasses. There was some blasting. They had the Spider tractor up there this last year, and some of the really bad spots that were getting borderline very dangerous were fixed. So hopefully a Gladiator can safely go through there, but I have not seen one personally yet. A lot of JKs, several JLs. I've taken a lot of friends through there with those type of rigs and not got any damage whatsoever.
Nice. Yeah, so maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just take a JK through. Maybe I'll take one of our beasts back there that are almost finished, like the YJ tub. What are we calling that thing? I think we're calling it the All J or something. I don't know. Yeah, that'd be fun to do. So okay, all right. So now I'm feeling peer pressure here. Nobody's saying anything, and yet it's putting peer pressure on myself that I got to go to Sierra Trek.
Just looking at you,
like,
you're all just looking at me like I can feel it. No, you're like Corey. After all these years, it's just coming across the waves right at me.
Come on,
do it.
Great.
That's awesome. And and I haven't done all of Fordyce, so it might be this might be the year that I go down there and I just do it and go with the group and make my way up to Fordyce
next year.
Yeah, we
so
just
I was
do a better job on the schedule.
Well, I'm thinking like if we work the schedule out right, it would be interesting to do a Modern Jeeper adventure where you kind of come through, like maybe you start in Tahoe or something, or up in Nevada side and kind of do some of that back road stuff and come down and then hit just in time for Fordyce to do Fordyce with.
It sounds like a lot of work.
Well, there's a lot of beauty and there's a lot of history up there. So you're in the heart of gold country.
Yeah, the Ponderosa Ranch, you can visit that. I mean, there's amazing
so much stuff up there. Yeah.
And why haven't I went?
Timing. We just don't have timing down.
Well,
yet.
we can do it we do it maybe not as part of Sierra Trek, but we just do a Fordyce run where we coordinate with Friends of Fordyce and or the Mad Hatters or somebody else and do something that takes us down through that area, see some of the old country.
I think we know some people.
Yeah.
We do. No, but people are too. That would be fun. So, hey, Modern Jeepers, if you're listening to this and you're interested in that kind of run, like a historic Northern California run that sees places like the Ponderosa and some other trails and maybe ends up going up Fordyce, would you be interested in that? Let us know. Email Corey, not me. Email Corey at motorclip.com.
Send them.
Speaking of which, sending them, you guys did a great job, Modern Jeepers, of following up on Corey's request last week about the website. So some great feedback.
I'm still getting some trickling in, some good comments. A huge shout out to our listeners to take the time and actually go to metalcloak.com and mess around with the site and go to different aspects of the site. Something that even isn't outside of, just because you have a JK doesn't mean you can't click on some of the other links, and people are doing that. And that's been really refreshing to just get some of that feedback and go, oh, didn't think about that. Oh, that's a good idea. So yeah, keep sending them.
Absolutely. However, if anybody, really is trying to tell me what products we should make or any other some advice, like
there's always those.
There's always those guys. Yeah, I'm a garage inventor and I created something new and I want to share it with you. How many of those I get?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm only kidding. I love all of you. All the great ideas out there. So August Sierra Trek, and then you have, when does registration close, John?
Oh, it closes when we order food, and that's about the third week in July.
Okay, and what does it cost to register? Is there different levels or?
There's different levels. It all depends on how many days you want to be at Sierra Trek.
Okay.
So,
and John, do you limit how many rigs in registry, or is it just open and you'll deal with the numbers as they come?
So that's I guess you could say that's a bit of a controversy, but no, every run has a limit for each run, for each style of run. Fordyce, we take 50 a day per run for the all the way through run, and then we do 25 for our river run. So there's potentially 75 people on the trail that are paid, fully paid participants, plus our volunteers, and our staff.
Gotcha.
So that goes true with our historical run, our UTV run, our outer limits run. There's limits on all of them. And that just goes back to, we have to limit it because of the amount of volunteers that we either do or
Sure.
you know,
In time.
Yeah, in time. Yeah.
Well, you figure 200 of the people out there need to be fed, or volunteers alone. I mean, that's a lot of coordination. Now, does PG&E then? Do you guys meet with, and they've specifically cut back the flow during your event because of your event?
Yes, we're in constant contact with PG&E. I've been to their main facility there in Auburn, California, and met with them before on different things. And they shut the water down to lower the flow, and that way we can safely cross it and guarantee that we can do it on that weekend. And they typically start reducing the flow about 4 or 5 days prior to us setting up for trek, or us setting.
Well, that's nice. That's very nice of them to do that. Who actually so you have Friends of Fordyce in charge of the trail, the cleanup of the trail, but is it just, how does it work? Who actually owns the trail, or who has like easement rights? Is there private property in there, or is that all forest land?
So for starters, Friends of Fordyce was created to basically mitigate the Adopt a Trail work. There's actually 5 different clubs that work alongside Friends of Fordyce that kind of have different sections of the trail. My club, the Mad Hatters, we have the top of 4 to Winch Hill 5 as an Adopt a Trail. So if we don't have work to do on the trail, a lot of times we'll do work. We'll help out in other locations. Tahoe National Forest owns the land for the most part. A lot of people don't realize this, but the top of Winch Hill 5 is on private property, and there's an easement there. And that has caused a little bit of controversy over the years when people, drive off the trail, or, stay out of that window there of the trail, and the property owner gets upset. And we have worked with him in the past, doing our best to mitigate any issues. We have fixed things. We have blocked things off. We brought equipment in there a few years ago and moved some big boulders in, blocking things off. We've worked with the Forest Service on that. So there's actually more than one one entity that owns the property, but mainly the 99% of it is by the Forest Service.
And so, since it's Tahoe National Forest, do they? You have to get a permit with them to do a commercial event, or in this case, the club event.
Yes, we have to do a permit through TNF to get that, to get the burn permits, to get the welding permits, to get the we have to deal with the county on the food and alcohol side of things, and then we deal with the Forest Service on all the different trails that we're running in there, not just Fordyce, but outer limits and the SUV and UTV trails as well. So,
you have to give them. Do you have to give them a percentage of your revenue?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what we're dealing with on the Rubicon Trail. What Modern Jeeper Adventures is now dealing with, because Tahoe National Forest is the group responsible for that side of the Rubicon Trail, the Tahoe side. So, and they've gone through Jeeper Jamborees having to do it this year, and it's been a big pain for them. But something like 3% of gross revenue has to get paid to them for the rights to go through their trail, which is. I mean, I'm not going to vocally complain, because they got to do what they got to do. But it's just it is a kind of a pain in the ass. But yeah, I can understand it. But it is definitely a pain, especially when you got the Rubicon Trail, where half of it is obviously no big deal. El Dorado County, we support it, we do it. Oh wait, you want to go into the Tahoe side? Yeah, we're going to take money from you. Yeah. But the trail itself is. Tahoe National Forest do they do anything to maintain it, or is it all up to the volunteers to maintain it?
They certainly give us a lot of assistance. I personally have taken in some of the forest rangers and showed them areas that were damaged. They have supplied us with some supplies and wrote grants for us. Last year they wrote a grant in 2020, and last year it was fulfilled. Like I said earlier, they brought in that, I don't know if you've ever seen it, that special tractor. They call it the Spider Tractor. It has 4 big tires on it, and then it has spikes on the side, and they can actually walk it like a spider would. And it has an arm on it with different attachments, and they can pick up boulders, and they can dig with it, and so on. They wrote a grant, and we brought people in, some blasters in, and we actually blasted the bypass at Winch Hill 3. So we do get really good support from the Forest Service. I can't say anything bad about them. They've been there when we've needed them. We did an emergency repair, like I said, in 2020. They supplied us road screen. Friends of Fordyce and Cal4 both paid for food for our volunteers and some other supplies. So between those three entities, we had all that we needed. So really good. They, the forestry, basically got us the permits that we needed to do the work, and the clubs and the volunteers came in great support from the association and Friends of Fordyce. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. So here, think about the contrast of this. You were at this massive event, Corey, in a drive-in movie theater parking lot, right? And here we got this beautiful event over here in the Sierras. And now we did take the CTI to it one year, but there's a long road that leads from Truckee area, because basically you drive up to the Truckee area, you're heading up, you take a left, you go out there, and you take this long dirt road. It's a long dirt road. Some years have been better than others. Some years it's very washed out, and some years it's better. Well, the first year I went up there, I think I raced through the whole thing in my YJ. Probably shouldn't have, but it was like, I'll take every corner as fast as I can. There's nobody around. Flying through in the YJ, it was great. But I think the year we took the CTI trailer out there, it was just a rough road. And yet people bring RVs, right? They bring trailers out. They bring all kinds of camping through that road, right?
Yeah, I've seen everything from Class A motorhomes, cab over campers, truck pulling a bumper pole, and fifth wheel trailers. We bring in a lowboy trailer to set the band up on. Many trailers go down that road hauling supplies, box trailers, open deck trailers. We drive in a reefer truck. All those things go down that road. We brought in Friends of Fordyce. A volunteer brought in a lowboy trailer with a backhoe on it one year, a John Deere backhoe, so we could do some work at the top of 5. This year, there's a bad washout in the road. Some trailers got damaged last year, and we got permission to do some gravel work on that road. And we're actually going to go in there at the tail end of July. And I volunteered for that, to bring in a bunch of gravel and spread.
Every once in a while, it's okay to say no, John.
Keep repeating that to me, please. But so we're doing our absolute best to make it the best event that we possibly can, and sometimes it's a little tough.
Yeah, well, I say God bless all the work you guys are doing. It's a great event. If you guys out there in the world of the Modern Jeeper want to put in another event in your cap, think about doing Sierra Trek. It's right outside of Truckee, California. Beautiful area. You can go visit Tahoe, come down to do Sierra Trek, and just have a great time of it. Now with Corey, so you guys at Jeeperama, you were talking about the work that they did out there. How many CTIs did you do?
Almost 40
in 3 hours.
A little over 3 hours.
So it's funny you say that, because we were talking about the previous episode, like we did up at Thompson's Jeep, right? We did like 36, 36, 39, whatever. You guys did in that same weekend. You guys did a club event and did how many?
Another 40. We had 47 at Addiction in Oklahoma. I mean, it was a busy weekend.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost whereas at Jeep Beach you did like in was it 7 hours? You did that amount or less.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And again, because our traffic was controlled and that kind of thing. But, John mentioned a little bit too about, when we have volunteers around and thanking people, it's very interesting. We leave Jeep Beach. I'm not sure if I have 3 or 4 people that I really was able to touch and affect and help with their rig on the trailer, we'll come away with those 4 rigs and there's 4 people, and they'll maybe reach out later and say thanks. We're still getting thank yous from this drive-in movie theater. I mean, the social media side of it, people have been repeatedly thanking us for coming out, and thanks for being there. Thanks for all you do. that goes such a long ways is to how we do things. It's interesting. It's very interesting to me. This perception of these big events, I get it. We've talked about it in the past. These big Jeep events, while we kind of feel like we have to be there at some capacity, where we get to really get involved with people are through these smaller events. And building those relationships is so much different than the people we meet when there's 20,000 people in a group.
Right. Well, speaking about small events, Tillamook is kind of the next thing. I know we got a little bit of noise here coming from John as he's getting things set up, but there was Tillamook is our next big event, right? Our next small event, and that's coming
up. We got like 3 weeks, I think, or something.
3 weeks. And what's happening between now and then for you guys?
I'm gonna sleep. Maybe. No, we have. Again, we like the truck. Everything needs cleaned, detailed, serviced. The Gladiator is getting reworked. We're changing out springs on it. Making some additions, modifications, getting ready again for. It seems like every time we go out on an overlanding type trip, we continue to make changes in the evolution of what an overland trip looks like, what we need, what we don't need. So yeah, we have still
and an extra project that's got to sit on hold right
and now there's this big high velocity yellow JL sitting in the driveway. So
right, yeah. We're waiting for the wish list from you guys, which I want you to hold off a little bit because there may be something in the works on suspension wise that'll be much more along the lines of what you would want for your rig. So, but
it's going to sit a while anyway.
Yeah. We won't be back for a month.
So it's no rush.
Yeah. It's been it's actually wonderful, John. Appreciate you could join us and tell us about Sierra Trek and all that good stuff. And I think we're going to have a fantastic time for everybody out there in the world of Jeeping if you get out there and check out Sierra Trek. Well, Corey, anything else you want to add before we wrap up this great episode?
I think we're good, buddy. Thanks, John. Great having you on.
Yes.
And one of these days we're going to be able to make it out to Sierra Trek. So.
Next year. I have it.
Next year. See, I got you guys all sold on it. Good.
Right.
All right. So if anybody wants to join do Sierra Trek, give that special code ModernJeeper to say that you heard about it from ModernJeeper. Maybe they'll give us a little credit. Maybe I can get a ticket for free or something. All right. Well, hey, ModernJeepers, thank you for joining us for another great episode. And we will see you on the trails.
Cheers.
See ya.